Hello everybody, it is Stella from New Hope Wellbeing and we are back with another video, and we are back with another video. And forgive how red my nose is. There is no toning it down today because in true Melbourne fashion, winter's back. We're in November, it should be nice and warm, it should be spring, but winter's back, and unfortunately that gives me a red nose. But I am sitting here underneath my blankie with my hot water bottle because I refuse to put the heater on because it's spring. Enough with my little rant there. Let's hope everybody else has been enjoying their week, and let's get into today's video. So we are going to be discussing the next of our Sumerian gods, and this is the Sumerian god of rain and thunderstorms of spring, and he's called Ishkur. He was a city god of Bit Kahuru in the central steppe region. He was an ambivalent figure whose intervention might have either benefited or harmed humankind. The destructive aspects of the storm god are often prominent in southern Mesopotamia, whereas in the north he was venerated to a greater extent as the benefactor of rain. And this probably reflects the differing importance of rainfall for agriculture in the respective regions. However, both sides of his character are explored throughout Sumerian and Akkadian literature. Across the ancient world, Ishkur's stormy essence transcended cultural borders and manifesting under different names and forms in neighbouring civilizations. Among the Akkadians, he was Adad, the thunderous god of storms, rain and fertility, and whose dual nature reflected prosperity and wrath. Similarly, the Hurarians worshipped him as Teshub, a fierce deity of storms and sky, and he was known for battles against the forces of chaos. And in the Hittite culture, he became Tahun, the storm god, wielding lightning and thunder to uphold justice and order. To the Canaanites, he was revered as Baal, the mighty god of rain and storms, ensuring agriculture, fertility, and victory in battle. And he was known as Hadad among the Semitic peoples, a thunderous figure central to weather and fertility myths. And there are even links in Egyptian mythology with Horus, the sky god and divine protector, evoking the celestial and warlike attributes shared by both of these deities. The cross-cultural connections illustrate the universal significance that storm gods had on ancient cultures, whose power symbolized life's delicate balance between creation and destruction. And if you think about it, it's still relevant even now, especially if you're living in areas that are prone to, say, hurricanes or cyclones. I mean, cyclones and hurricanes both can devastate a city from their ferocious storms. Even places where you can, I suppose, even places where tornadoes are prevalent as well, because that is a storm, where you can see the destruction as well as the creation. So Ishkur was also associated with divination and justice, and paired with Samas, he is addressed as Lord of Prayers and Divination, and invoked to preside over or is a witness to legal contexts. His father is the sky god An. However, in Sumerian literature, Ishkur is sometimes the son of Enlil, and we do see this a lot with the Sumerians, where even in Greek mythology, actually, like in the early pantheons, you see that sometimes, depending on the retelling, the parents of a particular god or goddess will change. So, I suppose it's just one of these things where you don't have the original of the originals. The disparity probably reflects two local traditions. A mother of Ishkur is mentioned only once in an old Babylonian prayer, where Ishkur is called the son of Uras. His wife is the goddess Medimsa. So as Ishkur, his wife is Medimsa, but as Adad, his wife is Sala. And he is said to have 5 children, 2 sons and 3 daughters. He has been acquainted with other Near Eastern storm gods, including Norse Babylonian and Assyrian, as we've mentioned earlier, but he has also been acquainted with other of the local neighbouring nations, I guess you could say, and their storm gods. He's first directly attested in the mid-3rd millennium, when he's mentioned in god lists and was worshipped at Lagash, Adab, and Karkar, I think it's pronounced. And at around the same time, the Semitic Hadar, I think it's, was being worshipped as an important deity at Ebla and Mari. And probably during the old Akkadian period, the cult of Adad spread across Babylonia, and he was synthesized with Ishkur at this point in time. By the old Babylonian period, Ishkur was one of the great gods of the Babylonian pantheon, with sanctuaries in many cities. In literary text, he features as both creator and destroyer. He is the bringer of plenty. In Enki and the World Order, and in Merkar and the Lord of Arta, he causes a storm that makes wheat grow on the barren mountainside. Elsewhere, his violence is emphasized in a praise poem for Sulgi. The king proudly declares that he was unafraid when thundering storms made the earth quake, and Ishkur roared in the broad heavens. While in the old Babylonian version of the poem, Adad causes first drought and famine, and then the flood, which wipes out mankind. And as you see, we have many, and this is probably one of the first stories about the myth that wipes out mankind, and we have had many versions since then. As Adad, he also occupied a high position in the Assyrian pantheon, and his temple at Assur is already attested early in the 2nd millennium. This was the double temple, which was replaced, remained a prominent place of worship and was restored by many later rulers, including Tiglath-Pileser I. I'm pretty sure I butchered that name, but he reigned from around 1114 through to 1076 BCE. In the 1st millennium literary texts, it shows Ishkur in his customary role. He is invoked to protect crops from storms, but also to bring fertility and prosperity. And in a prayer from Sargon's capital, Der Sarukin, bring the rains from heaven and the floods from underground in good season. Make his subjects lie down in safe pastures amid plenty and abundance. It's a continued link that does appear quite often in the divine prayers, as well as his title as Lord of Divination in the incantation series, the Sepru. So he is worshipped throughout Mesopotamia during the first half of the 1st millennium, and although he is accorded greater importance in Assyria, there are inscriptions that attest to his perennial popularity with the royal family. One example dates from 883 to 859 BCE, which the then king calls himself the beloved of Adad, who is almighty among the gods. In Babylonia, he was no longer one of the highest ranking deities, although he received a cult at most major centers. This would be continuing into the Hellenistic period in Urk and Babylon. At Urk, he and his wife, at this point in time she was now then referred to as Sala, are invoked in curses designed to protect what were to be some of the last surviving texts of the cuneiform culture. Whoever takes it away may Adad and Salah take him away. So they're actually referring to the tablet itself that this was written on. Let me just grab a drink of water. The poem of Atrahasis tells of a time when the gods, weary of humanity's noise, ordered their destruction. Ishkur, as Adad at this point, wielded drought and famine, weakening mankind before the floodwaters came. His storms raged as humanity faced annihilation, leaving only a few chosen to rebuild the world. This tale immortalized Ishkur as the harbinger of change and a force of divine will. In Enki and the World Order, Ishkur appeared as a beneficent force. His reigns transformed barren lands, ensuring the survival of crops and communities. He became a symbol of abundance, bringing a balance into the natural world. In Enmerkar and the Lord of Arata, Ishkur's storms worked miracles. On a desolate mountainside, his rains caused wheat to grow, turning wasteland into fertile ground. This act highlighted his role as a deity of sustenance and civilization's protector. In a poem for, I think it's pronounced Sulji, it captures his celestial powers. The king declared himself unafraid of Ishkur's roaring storms, which shook the earth and skies. The hymn cemented Ishkur's connection to kingship and cosmic might, taking his fury to royal courage. Through these tales, his legacy did endure as a storm god of dualities, both destruction and creation, wrath and mercy, chaos and order. He reminds mortals of the untamed forces shaping their world and their fragile place within it. Across ancient Mesopotamia, Ishkur, as the storm god, was revered in grand temples dedicated to his power, and his worship echoed through cities and sanctuaries, where the sky seemed to mirror his storms. One of the most prominent centers of his worship was the House of Great Storms in Karkar in Babylonia. Here, he reigned as head of the local pantheon, overseeing prayers of rain and protection from destructive tempests. In later periods, the northern city of Zaban carried on his legacy, hosting rituals that honored his dual nature as both life-giver and destroyer. In the House of Abundance in Babylon, this symbolized his role in providing prosperity, and in sanctuaries in other cities including Sippar, Nippur, and Uruk, they celebrated the storms that nourished the land. Each temple was a testament to the people's reliance on his reign and their fear of his fury. Further north in Assur, the temple there was called the house which hears prayers. It became a place of solace and divine guidance. And King Samasi Adad I extended this sanctuary into a double temple honoring both Ishkur and Anul, the sky god. And during the Neo-Assyrian period, Ishkur's influence spread to Kabar, Kalhu, and Nineveh, which temples bore witness to his enduring power. The people of Mesopotamia honoured him as the storm god, with festivals as well. The rains were both a blessing and a threat, nourishing crops yet capable of devastation. And the festivals were dedicated to Ishkur to occur during the seasonal transitions when his power was most felt. There were grand ceremonies in the House of Storms to celebrate his dominion over the skies, and worshippers would gather to offer prayers and sacrifices, invoking his favour of bountiful rains. These festivals coincided with planting and harvest seasons, crucial moments when rain brought life to the fields. In many hymns, he is referred to as the Great Radiant Bull, his celestial role woven into the celebrations. At his temple known as the House which hears prayers, the festivals took on a more marital tone. Here, his warrior aspects were honoured, and his storms were likened to weapons of divine justice. Priests recited incantations to keep his fury at bay, ensuring the storms brought prosperity and not destruction. These celebrations reflected Mesopotamia's deep connection to their land and reliance on Ishkur's balance of chaos and order. Through ritual songs and offerings, they sought to appease the gods who controlled their survival and ruin. So to bring it all together, he was worshipped all over Mesopotamia and beyond. And in Babylon, at the House of Great Storms, he was the head of that local pantheon. And in the first millennia, this role was played by the northern city of Zaban. He had a temple at Babylon, the House of Abundance, and sanctuaries in other cities as well throughout the region. So that is just a little bit about the storm god, Ishkur. We will be back next week with some more videos. Until then, I hope everybody has a great rest of their week and weekend. And I hope everybody also gets some nice, lovely weather. And we'll chat soon. Bye.